Before I tell you what happened, I need you to picture something. It's a Thursday evening in November. The kind of rain that doesn't fall, it collapses. The kind that makes every streetlight blur into something that looks almost warm, almost like safety, until you remember you are standing outside and you are very, very cold. A woman is standing on the curb of Burnside Street in Portland, Oregon. She is 31 years old. She has a 14-month-old baby strapped to her chest, tucked inside her coat as far as the zip will go. She has a broken phone. She has a bag of groceries that split open when she tried to reach the boot of her car, and now there are tins on the wet pavement and a carton of formula seeping into the drain. Her car won't start. It was already dying. She knew it was dying. She couldn't afford to fix it yet. In the 40 minutes she stands there, 47 cars pass. We know this because one of them has a dashcam. The footage later goes, well. You'll understand why, when we get to that part. 47 cars. Not one of them stops. Some slow down and speed up again. One driver waves at a woman standing in a rainstorm with a baby, alone, at dusk. He waves and drives on. Then car number 48 comes around the corner. It's red. It slows. It passes her. And then, something. It makes a U-turn. This is the story of what happened after that U-turn. And I'm warning you now, it is not the story you think it is. Because the man in the red car had no idea what he was about to step into. And neither did she. Stay with me. Her name is Maya Collins. And before you decide you already know her story, stop. Because the version you're imagining is simpler than the truth. Maya did not grow up poor. She grew up careful. There is a difference. Careful means you always read the small print. Careful means you never buy the expensive version of anything, but you make sure what you buy lasts. Careful means you put a little away every month into a savings account that you treat as untouchable. Careful means you believe, because you were taught to believe, that the system is mostly fair, and the people who fall through the cracks were not careful enough. She believed that until she became one of the people who fall through the cracks. She'd had a career, a good one. Health administration at a mid-sized hospital. She was good at it. Organized. Efficient. Quiet in meetings but accurate in everything she said when she spoke. She met Daniel Collins at a work function when she was 26. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep, he wore his shirt slightly too well. He remembered her coffee order after one date. He made her feel, for the first time in her adult life, like she didn't have to be quite so careful. They married quickly. She doesn't regret that. She regrets trusting his version of their finances, but she doesn't regret loving him. The pregnancy was planned. She planned everything. She read 7 books on newborn sleep schedules. She had the hospital bag packed at 32 weeks. She believed she was ready. Daniel left when Isla was 23 days old. The note said, "I'm not built for this. I'm sorry." It didn't say where he was going. It didn't say anything about money. It didn't say anything about his daughter. What followed was a year that Maya still can't fully narrate in sequence because her brain has kindly scrambled the worst of it. She knows that she sold the car they bought together and bought a cheaper one. She knows she moved 3 times. She knows that at some point she stopped eating breakfast and then stopped noticing she'd stopped. She knows that the woman on the ground floor of the building she finally settled in, started leaving casseroles outside her door and that Maya cried for an hour the first time it happened, not from gratitude but from relief, because she hadn't had to ask. She had 2 jobs by April. The ER reception desk from 7 in the morning until 3. Then, after watched Isla, she'd log on to her transcription platform from 8 at night until 1 in the morning. She slept in 4-hour windows. She told herself it was temporary. She was wrong, but she needed to be wrong about that or she wouldn't have been able to keep going. The housing assistance application had taken 11 hours to complete across 3 different websites, for phone calls, and 2 trips to the council office. She had submitted it in September. It was now the second Thursday of November. She was standing in the rain because her car had died at the worst possible intersection on the worst possible evening, and her phone was at 3%, and she had already used 1% to call a tow company who put her on hold for 7 minutes before she hung up to conserve battery. She did not cry standing on that curb. She had learned that crying in public used energy she needed for other things. She stood very still. She shielded Isla's face from the rain with the lapel of her jacket. She watched the cars go by and thought, with the kind of clear-eyed calm that only comes from being past panic, one of them will stop. Eventually. One of them has to. She was beginning to doubt this when she saw the red car. Ethan Cross had driven past her before he'd consciously registered her. He'd been on a call, Bluetooth, hands-free, the kind of call that required 80% of his attention and the other 20% to navigate a city he'd only moved to 11 months ago. He was not, by his own admission, a man who noticed much outside of the immediate and the urgent. He noticed market patterns. He noticed when a pitch deck had a financial model that didn't add up. He noticed, with forensic precision, whether a business meeting was going well or badly, usually within the first 90 seconds. He noticed the woman in his rearview mirror because of the baby. He'd grown up with a younger sister. His earliest memory is carrying her when she was about that size, bundled up, face tucked against his shoulder, the weight of her so significant and so fragile at the same time. He doesn't know why that memory came up in that particular moment. He only knows that his hands turned the wheel before his brain had finished the argument. He didn't know what to say. This is important. He didn't come out with a line. He didn't stride over with the confidence of a man accustomed to solving things. He got out of the car, and the rain hit him immediately, and he stood there for a second too long before he said, "Your car, is it dead?" Maya looked at him. She had spent a year developing an extremely accurate threat assessment reflex. She ran it now: expensive car, expensive suit, well-maintained hands, no wedding ring, eye contact that didn't drop to her chest, voice that was asking rather than telling. She put the threat level at, cautiously unlikely. "The battery," she said. "Or the alternator. I haven't figured out which." He nodded. He did not immediately try to open her bonnet, which she noted. "I can call someone," he said. "Tow company. I have a mechanic. He'll answer." "It's fine," she said automatically. She said that to everything. It was not fine. "You're soaking wet," he said. "And is that your baby?" "Yes," she said, in a tone that added clearly without saying it. He looked at her. She looked at him. Something was decided in that look, by both of them, that neither of them could have articulated. "Please," he said. Just that word. "Then, let me call Marcus. He'll be here in 20 minutes. You can wait in the car, it's warm. I'll wait out here." She looked at the rain. At Isla's damp forehead. At the tin of formula on the wet pavement. She said, "Okay." She didn't know his name yet. He hadn't asked hers. She sat in the warmth of his car and watched him stand in the rain, because he had said he would wait outside, and he was a man who apparently did what he said. She watched him make the call, one call, answered quickly, decisive conversation. She watched him not look at her through the glass, which she also noted. Isla slept. And Maya, for the first time in longer than she could pinpoint, let herself sit very still and feel nothing in particular. Not relief. Not gratitude. Not suspicion. Just, nothing. For a few minutes. She did not know that when she got home, there would be a letter on her doormat. She did not know that the letter would change the timeline of everything. The mechanic, a man named Marcus who had the discreet efficiency of someone paid very well to be discreet and efficient, arrived in 18 minutes. He assessed the car, said it was the alternator, loaded it onto the flatbed, and drove it away. Ethan had paid for this before Maya could object. She had objected anyway. He had said, "I'll invoice you if it makes you feel better." She said, "It does." He said, "I don't actually have your address." A very small silence. "I'll figure it out," he said, and she wasn't sure if that was a promise or a warning. He drove her home. She gave him the address in 2 steps, the street name first, then the number, in case she needed to change her mind in between. She thanked him at the curb. He nodded and drove away. She carried Isla upstairs, changed her, put her down, stood in the kitchen for 3 minutes eating crackers and staring at the wall, and then she saw the letter on the mat and thought, of course. Declined. Reason for decision, missing document, Section 14, B, verification of primary carer status, Form CS 7A, not submitted with application. She had not been told she needed Form CS 7A. She had a right of appeal. The appeal window was open for 30 days. She should contact the housing allocations team at the council office. She folded the letter. Put it on the counter. Put a mug on top of it so it couldn't move. Then she went and lay down next to Isla's cot and stared at the ceiling until the transcription platform pinged for her evening shift. Dot heard her come in. Dot always heard her come in. The building had thin floors and a long history of women listening for each other. She didn't knock. She left a covered bowl of oxtail soup outside the door, as she had done every 3rd day for the past 7 months. In the morning, Maya would bring the bowl back, washed, with a note inside. The notes were always short, "Thank you, Dot. Isla slept 6 hours," or, "She said a new sound today." Dot collected these notes. She kept them in a shoebox in the wardrobe. She did not know about the housing letter. Not yet. She did not know about the man in the red car. Not yet. She would, soon. Because in this building, in this small gravity of their lives, everything eventually found its way to Dot. She worked until 2:17 in the morning. She made $43.60. She set her alarm for 6. She closed the laptop. She did not look at the letter. She thought, before she fell asleep, about the man who had made a U-turn in the rain. She didn't know his name. She didn't know why he'd stopped when 47 others hadn't. She didn't know what it meant that she had felt, for just a few minutes, sitting in his warm car with her sleeping daughter, something that she couldn't name. Not safe, exactly. Not comfortable. Something older than that. Something she'd forgotten she was allowed to feel. She filed it under, strange things that happen and don't mean anything. She was wrong about that too. He was there on Saturday morning. Maya was halfway through her 3rd coffee and a spreadsheet of appeals correspondence when Dot knocked, not in her usual way, one soft tap, but twice, which meant, "There is a situation." Maya opened her door to find Dot standing with a man in a gray jumper and dark jeans, holding the keys to a silver hatchback. "He says he knows you," Dot said, in a tone that made it clear she was reserving all judgment until further information was available. Ethan said, "The car is downstairs. Marcus fixed the alternator. I wanted to return it in person. I realized I had your address from the GPS in my car. I should have called ahead. I don't have your number." He paused. "I don't have your name." "Maya," she said. "Ethan," he said. Dot's gaze moved from Ethan to Maya and back with the quiet precision of a woman who has known many men and categorized them accurately within 30 seconds. "There's coffee," Dot said. She said it to Ethan. Maya said, "Dot. The baby needs fresh air," Dot said, already going inside. "I'll take her. You two talk about the car." This is how Dot operated. She did not ask. She arranged. And she was usually right. Maya and Ethan stood in the thin morning sun on the steps of her building, and she found out who he was. He was the founder of a software logistics company. The name wouldn't mean anything to most people, he said, but the infrastructure it ran underpinned about 30% of the port operations on the Pacific coast. He had moved to Portland 11 months ago from Seattle. He liked it here, he said, in the way someone says they like something when they're still deciding. He was not married. He had been engaged, once, 4 years ago. He didn't explain what happened. She didn't ask. She told him about her work, the ER desk, the transcription. She told him about Isla. She did not tell him about the housing letter. She didn't know why, or she knew exactly why and wasn't ready to examine it. He ended up inside, because Dot insisted, and because it was cold, and because Ethan had the particular quality of someone who is easy to be in a room with without quite knowing why. He played with Isla on the rug for 20 minutes while Maya and Dot finished the dishes. Dot watched him with Isla. Then she looked at Maya with an expression Maya recognized as, "Pay attention." He was natural with her. Not performative, the kind of natural that comes from having once carried a small person and understood the weight of it. Isla watched him with the frank assessment of an infant who has not yet learned to be polite about evaluation. Then she offered him her most important possession, a chewed stuffed elephant named Peanut, and he accepted it with appropriate gravity. "She doesn't give Peanut to anyone," Dot said from the kitchen, loudly enough to be heard. Maya concentrated very hard on drying a bowl. He left after an hour. At the door, he said, I know I turned up unannounced. I won't do that again. But I'd like to know how it goes. With you. If that's acceptable." She gave him her number. She was not sure she'd made the right decision. "Dot, from behind the kitchen door, she'll text first. Give it 2 days." "Dot," Maya said. "I'm just saying what's true," Dot said. She went to the council office on Monday. Claire Wade had the kind of office that reminded you exactly where you stood. Not through hostility, through orderliness. The orderliness of someone who has processed 10,000 files and has stopped attaching names to faces, because that would be unsustainable. Because if you attached names to faces, you'd have to feel something every time you declined. Claire did not recognize Maya, though Maya had been to this office before. That wasn't unusual. That was just, the system. "The appeal form is available on the website," Claire said. "You'll need to include the CS-7A, which you can download from the same." "I was not told I needed the CS-7A, Maya said. She had practiced saying this calmly. She said it calmly. "It's listed in the guidance notes, Section 4. I read the guidance notes. Section 4 does not list the CS-7A for single-carer applications. It lists it for shared care applications. I have a screenshot." Claire paused. She looked at the screenshot. Something flickered behind her eyes, very brief, very controlled. "I'll need to refer this to the senior allocations team," she said. "There's a processing backlog of approximately 11 weeks. My notice to vacate is 30 days. I understand that. The backlog is 11 weeks, Maya said. Yes. She thanked Claire Wade. She stood up. She did not make a scene. She carried Isla through the lobby and out into the cold and sat on the bench outside for 4 minutes and 40 seconds, she counted, and then she stood up and walked to the bus stop. Ethan texted that evening. She hadn't texted first. Dot was wrong about that. His text said, "How did Monday go?" Not a question mark. Not, "How are you?" Specific, calm, as if he had been thinking about this and decided not to dress it up. She told him. She typed the whole thing, the CS-7A, Claire Wade, the 11 weeks, the 30 days, and then stared at it for a long time and almost deleted it and sent, "Fine thanks" instead. She didn't. She sent the whole thing. There was a pause. Then, "I know someone on the Appeals Oversight Committee. Not a favor, proper procedure. I can ask if an expedited review is possible. Say the word and I'll make the call. No obligation." She stared at that text for a very long time. This was the moment. Not the rain. Not the car. This was the actual moment, the hinge point. Because accepting help like this, structural help, the kind that required his name and his connections, was a different category of thing from sitting in someone's warm car for 20 minutes. This was becoming indebted. This was not being self-sufficient. This was being the kind of person Maya Collins had spent her entire adult life promising herself she would never be. She didn't reply that night. She called Reese. Reese picked up on the second ring, as she always did, because Reese was the kind of person who was always available and always energetic and always had an opinion, and Maya had loved that about her since they were 19 and sharing a terrible house in their first year. "Accepted," Reese said, after Maya explained. "Maya. Accept the help. I don't know who he is." "You know enough." "He has no angle," Maya said. "I can't figure out the angle." "Maybe there isn't one," Reese said. "Maya. Sometimes people are just good. Sometimes someone just stops in the rain." She believed her. She had no reason not to. Reese was her person, the one who had driven to the hospital at midnight when Isla was born, the one who had sat on her kitchen floor with her 3 weeks later when Daniel left, the one who had memorized Isla's entire sleep schedule and her formula brand and which songs she liked. She believed Reese completely. This is important for later. Maya texted Ethan at 11:43 p.m. She said, "Yes. Make the call." "Thank you." He replied in 2 minutes, "Done." Nothing else. No follow-up. No leveraging the moment. Just, done. She put her phone down and thought about what Reese had said. Sometimes people are just good. Sometimes someone just stops in the rain. She thought about the man who had stood in the downpour so she could sit in the warm. She thought about the text with no question mark. She thought about Isla handing him peanut. She thought, I don't know what this is. Then the transcription platform pinged. She logged on. She worked until 1:50. She made $38.20. She slept. 2 weeks passed. In those 2 weeks, Ethan's contact on the Oversight Committee confirmed an expedited review was possible and scheduled for the following Thursday. Babysat Isla every Tuesday and Thursday evening so Maya could take a proper dinner break before her transcription shift. Ethan texted, not every day, but consistently, and always about something specific rather than the vague checking in that feels like obligation. He asked about her appeals case. He sent her a screenshot of a coffee place near the council office that had good scones, in case she needed somewhere to go before the hearing. They had dinner once. A Tuesday. Had offered. Ethan had suggested a small Italian place that was quiet enough to talk. Maya had worn the same dress she'd worn to the last work event she attended before her maternity leave, which still fitted, which she had decided to take as a sign. It was a very good dinner. This surprised her. She had expected to feel surveilled, or grateful in a humiliating way, or simply awkward. She felt none of those things. She felt present. In a way she hadn't in a long time. They talked about her career before Isla, and his company's expansion into European ports, and the correct definition of scone. She said it to rhyme with gone, he said gone, she said that was the same thing, he said it wasn't, later said they were both wrong and provided a diagram. He walked her to the bus stop afterward. He didn't try to drive her home. She noticed this. At the stop, he said, the hearing is Thursday. Let me know how it goes. You don't have to. But I'd like to know. She said, I'll let you know. She meant it. The bus came. She got on. She looked out the window once. He was still standing at the stop. She thought, I don't know what this is. Still. But I am no longer as afraid of not knowing. It was the following Saturday, 6 days before the appeals hearing, that it happened. Reese came over for the afternoon. This was normal. She brought pastries and a new soft toy for Isla and a bottle of wine for later. This was normal. She sat on the rug and played with Isla while Maya made tea and talked about the dinner with Ethan and the hearing and the fact that she'd slept 6 consecutive hours for the first time in 8 months and thought she might actually be approaching something that could be called okay. Reese's phone was on the coffee table. It lit up. Reese was across the room. Maya was closer. She glanced over out of habit. You do this with close friends, with people you have no secrets from. The name on the screen was Daniel. Maya picked up the phone. She told herself later that she didn't know why she did this. She did know. She knew the way you know something you haven't put into words yet. The message thread went back 4 months. She read it in 3 minutes. She is a fast reader, occupational habit. In those 3 minutes, she learned the following: Daniel had contacted Reese in July. He had said he wanted to reconnect, with Isla, not with Maya. That was very clear in his messages, repeated, deliberate. He had said he had a right to be in his daughter's life. Reese had not told him to go to hell, which is what Maya would have done. Reese had said, give me time to prepare her. She had been preparing Maya for 4 months. She had told Daniel about Isla's milestones, her first steps, her first word. She had sent him photographs. She had arranged, with a family lawyer she had found, for a possible mediated custody conversation, soft introduction, the lawyer called it. She had not told Maya any of this because, her messages explained, Maya was fragile and needed stability first. 3 weeks ago, in a message she sent at 11:15 p.m., Reese had written, the timing is almost right. She's got a man helping her out with the housing thing. She'll be in a more stable headspace soon. Let's aim for after the hearing. Reese said, Maya. How long, Maya said. Please listen. How long, Reese? 4 months. But Maya, I was protecting. You sent him pictures of my daughter. His daughter too. No, and something in Maya's voice, very quiet and very final, made Reese stop. He left a note on the counter. He did not call. He did not send money. He has not contacted me, not me, in 14 months. And you decided, without asking me, to manage his re-entry into our lives because you decided I was too fragile to have the conversation. Reese's face did what it always did when she had no counter-argument. It collapsed into genuine pain. She was not performing. She was devastated. Because Reese loved Maya, actually loved her, and had done this anyway. I didn't want you to have to fight anymore, Reese said. You're so tired, Maya. I just wanted to take one thing off your plate. You took the thing off my plate that was mine to carry, Maya said. That wasn't yours to decide. She asked Reese to leave. Reese left. Maya sat down on the floor next to Isla's bouncer. She did not move for a long time. She had 26 days until she had to vacate. She had 6 days until the appeals hearing. She now had documentation that her ex-husband was planning a custody intervention, which a lawyer she could not currently afford had confirmed, via a text Reese had helpfully forwarded, was procedurally viable given the current instability of the primary carer's housing situation. The housing instability was on record. In other words, losing the housing appeal did not just mean losing the apartment. It now meant potentially losing Isla. She sat on the floor for 40 minutes. Then she got up. She fed Isla. She changed her. She read her the board book about the caterpillar, twice, because Isla pointed at the butterfly at the end and made the sound she made when she wanted something again. She put her down for her nap. Then she called Dot. Dot listened to all of it. She did not interrupt. She did not offer solutions. She waited until Maya had finished and then she said 3 things. She said, Reese loves you. She was wrong. Both of those things are true at the same time. She said, Daniel cannot take Isla from a mother who is fighting for her home. He can try. Courts see through that kind of leverage. She said, the man with the red car. What does your gut say about him? Maya was quiet. Then she said, my gut says he's real. Dot nodded. Then use him properly, she said. Not because you need rescuing. Because you are building something and you need a resource and he has one. There is no shame in that. The shame would be letting Isla lose her home because you were too proud to accept what's already been offered. Maya looked at the untouched tea. What if he, she started. Want something in return? Dot said. Then you'll know. And you'll handle it. But Maya. She squeezed her hands. You have already survived the worst things. This is not the worst thing. She called him. She told him about the custody threat. She told him about Daniel. She did not tell him about Reese, that was not his to know yet. She said, I need the appeal to succeed. Not as a favor. As a proper legal outcome. I need you to be very careful about how your name is used, I can't have it look like I have a wealthy patron. That will be used against me in the custody situation. He said, I understand. Can you still help? On those terms? Yes, he said. Why, she said. Not unkindly. But she needed to know. There was a pause. Because I made a U-turn, he said. And I don't regret it. And I'd like to see where this goes, you and me, and I can't do that if Isla doesn't have a safe home. So it's not entirely selfless. But it is honest. She said, okay. He said, okay. Thursday. The appeals hearing. Maya presented her case herself. She had spent 4 evenings preparing it. She brought the original guidance notes with the missing CS 7A reference highlighted. She brought 3 printed precedents from similar cases. She brought her tenancy record, her employment records, Isla's medical documentation. The Oversight Committee asked 11 questions. She answered all of them. The chair of the committee, a woman named Dr. Afalabi, said the CS-7A omission in the guidance notes was a documented error, acknowledged 18 months ago, and that the application would be reviewed under the corrected process. Provisional housing status would be maintained pending the final decision. Maya said, thank you. Dr. Afalabi said, you prepared exceptionally well, Ms. Collins. Maya said, I had help. She didn't look at the window when she said it. But she meant it for the man standing behind the glass. Dot insisted on dinner. They went to a Jamaican place near the building that had been there for 30 years. Dot ordered for everyone without consulting the menu. Ethan said this was correct. Maya said it was definitely correct. For 2 hours, the weight that had been sitting on Maya's sternum since November, before November, since April, since the morning she woke up to that note, lifted slightly. Not gone. Not done. But lighter. She looked at Ethan across the table. He was listening to Dot explain the correct method for preparing rice and peas, which required significant explanation. He was listening with complete attention. She thought, I still don't know what this is. She thought, but I'm not afraid of not knowing anymore. That night, after Isla was down and the apartment was quiet, she opened her messages. Reese had not contacted her. 5 days, no message. This was unprecedented in 12 years. Maya looked at their thread. She scrolled back. Past the last week. Past the screenshots. Past the confrontation. Back to, Maya, she's walking. With a video of Isla at 10 months, hands out, for steps, face incandescent with her own achievement. Back to, thinking of you today. Roast chicken in the oven, saving you a piece. Back to, you're the best mum. I mean it. She will know that her whole life. She started typing. She got halfway through something. Stopped. Started again. She didn't send it. Not yet. Not tonight. The wound was still too new and the words were still not right, and some things needed more time to be said correctly than her current self could give them. She understood why Reese had done it. That was the complicated part. Not that it made it acceptable, it didn't, and Reese had to know that and to sit with it. But she understood the love inside the mistake. The terror of watching someone you love disintegrate, and reaching for control because watching is too hard. She had done that kind of reaching herself. Differently. But she recognized it. She took Isla for a walk at 10 o'clock. This was unusual. This was deliberate. She walked the 3 blocks she had always walked, past the corner that had a tree that was too big for the pavement, past the bakery that was closed but still smelled like bread, past the stretch of road where her car had died on that Thursday in November. She thought about 47 cars. She thought about the 48th. She thought about the question that had no clean answer, not about Ethan, not about her housing case, not even about Daniel, who was still out there, still a problem she had not yet solved. She thought about Reese. About what kind of love allows someone to make those decisions, and whether that love is still there when the decisions are undeniable. About whether you can forgive something and still need time. About whether needing time is the same as choosing distance. She stopped walking. She took her phone out. She looked at the screen for a long time. Then she dialed. It rang twice. And that's where we leave her. Standing on a wet pavement, at 10 o'clock at night, with her daughter asleep against her chest. A red car parked further down the street. The light from her phone illuminating her face. Calling someone. The question, the one that will live in your mind tonight, is this. Whose number did she dial? Ethan, because she's ready to let someone in. Reese, because 12 years is longer than 5 days of silence. Or Daniel, because she's about to fight him on her own terms, in her own time, with a voice he's never heard her use. Think about it. Sit with it. Because Maya Collins didn't become someone who calls for help by accident. She became someone who calls the right person, when she's ready, with exactly what she needs to say. And we don't get to hear it. Not yet. If you made it this far, you didn't just watch a story. You felt one. Leave a comment below and tell me, whose number do you think she dialed? Ethan, Reese, or Daniel? I read every single one. If this story moved you, if you saw someone you know in Maya, or someone you used to be, please share it. There is someone in your life right now who needs to be reminded that stopping in the rain matters. That one person turning back can change the whole story. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a story. We release new emotional drama every week, and next week's story picks up where you least expect it. Thank you for being someone who stays until the end. Maya stayed in the rain. You stayed through the whole story. That's not nothing. That's everything. See you next week.